Have you ever felt like you are living a life that isn't really yours? As if somehow you are following a script written by someone else? You wake up every day, put on the same mask as always, and interact with people as if everything is fine. But at some point, when silence finally arrives, that uncomfortable question arises: who am I really? Society has a name for people who start to pull away from the noise, who find small talk exhausting, and who no longer fit into the shallow rhythm of the crowd. They call you antisocial. They tell you that you are becoming cold, that you are losing your edge, or that something inside you has broken. But the truth is much more profound and far more liberating. You aren't antisocial. You have simply outgrown the social mask you were forced to wear since childhood. You are standing at a crossroads where the character you've been playing for years is finally starting to die, and your true self is screaming to be born. To understand why you feel this crushing sense of disconnection, we must first look at what Carl Jung called the persona. Since the day you were born, you have been conditioned to fit in, to become acceptable, and to hide certain aspects of yourself in order to be loved. You were taught to be polite, not to speak too loudly, not to show anger, and to please others at all costs. You learned to appear confident even when you were filled with doubts inside, shaping an identity that was not yours, but a reflection of what the world expected of you. Jung called this mask the persona. It is the version of yourself that you constructed to fit in, and we all have one. It is a social disguise that we use to protect ourselves, and while it is useful for social interactions, there is a great danger in it. When you completely identify with this mask, you start to forget who you really are. You begin to realize that you are no longer an authentic individual, but a character playing a role you didn't even consciously choose. For years, this mask might have brought you acceptance, but it can never bring you fulfillment. The persona cannot sustain your soul. Eventually, you reach a breaking point where the social facade begins to weigh too heavily, and you realize you are living as if you are only a caricature of who you truly are. This feeling of displacement, as if you are following a path that doesn't make sense, is not a failure. It is a symptom of a deep problem that almost no one has the courage to face. Most people go through their entire lives without ever knowing their true selves, limiting themselves to social roles and imposed expectations. But you have started to feel the emptiness, that constant feeling that something essential is missing, no matter what you achieve. This happens because what you truly need is not out there in a better job or the recognition of others. It is within you, buried under layers of conditioning. When you begin to withdraw from the social theater, the world reacts with fear. Society values massification, the transformation of the human being into a statistical cog that values conformity over authenticity. When you stop being available for every social demand, you become a threat to the collective mediocrity. By calling you antisocial, the system is trying to shame you back into the herd. They want to pathologize your need for depth because a person who thinks for themselves is dangerous to a system that thrives on obedience. Nietzsche warned that the herd morality would always punish those who dared to stand apart, transforming individual strength into arrogance and independence into coldness. But the normal life they sold you is a sophisticated trap designed to keep you functional, not happy. If you find yourself irrationally irritated by the superficiality of others, it is often because your shadow is tired of being ignored. The shadow is the hidden part of your psyche where you buried everything you didn't want to see in yourself, your repressed desires, your anger, but also your creativity and true strength. Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your current isolation is not a defect, it is your shadow's attempt to save you. It is forcing you to stop running so you can finally face the parts of yourself that have been banished and forgotten. When you judge others with hatred, you are often merely projecting onto them what you fear most in yourself. You hate in them what you do not accept in yourself, and you love in them what you have abandoned in yourself. This journey toward the true self, which Jung called individuation, requires you to confront everything that has been repressed or distorted over the years. It means looking inward and facing parts of yourself that you might prefer to avoid. Finding the self is not something that happens by chance. It is not a magical epiphany. The self does not reveal itself to those who are not willing to face the truth. The greatest obstacle to finding this truth is fear. Fear of losing the identity you built over the years, and fear of realizing that many of your choices were not truly yours. But when you begin to integrate your shadow and question the masks you wear, something incredible happens. You start to feel a kind of freedom you have never experienced before. You realize you no longer need to please everyone. Nietzsche understood that a truly powerful mind would inevitably feel lonely. He called it the solitude of the strong. This distancing isn't rejection, it's maturation. You do not distance yourself out of pride, but because you no longer fit where you once hid. Arthur Schopenhauer noted that the ability to be alone is a mark of greatness, a sign of a mind that does not need external noise to feel alive. Solitude is the refuge of elevated spirits who have found a fortress within themselves. Most people run back to the group because they cannot bear the silence that reveals who they really are. But you have stayed in the silence. This means you are ready to stop being a puppet to other scripts and become the author of your own story. As you move through this transformation, you must learn the art of strategic withdrawal. When you stop being always available, the world around you goes into crisis because people can no longer control you through your predictability. Being available all the time makes you seem like a tool, an emotional emergency button that people press when they want validation and then put back on the shelf. But when you choose silence instead of an automatic response, you reclaim your inner strength. Jung saw our mind as an energy system, and every time you react impulsively to a provocation, you are wasting your inner strength. True power is not in reacting, but in choosing when and how to act. You must also stop the compulsion to explain yourself. Compulsive self-explanation is a sophisticated form of submission. It is as if you are saying you can only exist if others allow it. This behavior often arises from a psychic wound of emotional invalidation, where you are taught that what you feel only has value if others approve of it. But true psychological freedom emerges from the development of internal authority. Internal authority is the moment when you stop asking if they will understand and start asserting that it doesn't matter if they understand, because your truth is valid for you. Every time you silence an unnecessary explanation, you consolidate your integrity. Machiavelli provided a brutal reality check for this path. Being purely good in a world of predators is a death sentence. He taught that a man who wishes to act like a good man in all circumstances is doomed to ruin among so many who are not good. This doesn't mean becoming cruel, but it means having the virtu, the inner power to act with intelligence and resilience. You must be a fox to recognize the traps of manipulation and a lion to terrify the wolves who seek to use your kindness as bait. Respect is not something you demand, it is something you build internally by acting like someone who has value. The pain you feel during this transition is not a mistake, it is a calling. Suffering exists to push you back home to your true self. Jung believed that neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. You are sick because you are running away from the pain you need to feel to transform your life. Pain is the soul's cry saying that the life you are leading is not yours. It is only when you deeply accept the instability of existence that the mind can begin to relax. Anxiety in this context is not a flaw, but a message that you are awake enough to realize that the structure of your life is corrupt. You are not broken, you are just following the wrong path. The map of your soul is within you, but you have been following the maps of others. To walk back to the center, you must observe your dreams, engage in active imagination, and confront your shadow with radical honesty. This process of integration is not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. It is the reconstruction of inner unity, where light and shadow balance each other. It requires the courage to walk alone for a while, to disidentify from the mask, and to inhabit the depths where the treasures of the soul are hidden. No one is going to save you from this cycle. The archetype of the external savior is a childish trap of the collective unconscious. You are the only one responsible for not staying where you are. Radical responsibility means accepting that even if the pain was caused by others, the healing depends on you. The system wants you to remain dependent and obedient, but you have waited too long for a permission that will never come. Taking responsibility for your own life is the beginning of true maturity. Now is the moment of the terrifying leap that separates the false life from the authentic life. You need to abandon the narrative that kept you safe, even if miserable. The fear you feel is not a warning to retreat, but a sign that you are exactly at the right point. On the other side of fear, there is life, real life, presence, and meaning. You do not need to be 100% ready to leap. You just need to be fed up enough with the lie. As we conclude this journey, remember that being antisocial in a sick society is often a sign of health. You are shedding a skin that has become too tight. You are moving from being a puppet of your unconscious to being the conscious creator of your own destiny. The silence you now prefer is not emptiness, it is the sound of self-mastery. You have stopped being functional for others so that you can finally be true to yourself. I want you to make a commitment to this new life. If you have the courage to stop hiding behind your social mask and to face your own power, write in the comments, "I choose my peace over their approval." When you verbalize this, you anchor it into your consciousness. You are telling your unconscious that the performance is over and the real life has begun. Do not be afraid of the distance you feel from the crowd. It is the necessary space for your soul to grow. You are not lost. You are just finally beginning to inhabit your own center. If this message resonated with you, if it felt like a mirror to your own silent struggle, then you are ready for the next step. Subscribe to the channel and watch the next video to deepen your understanding of the mechanisms that shape your mind. This discovery is just beginning, and the path to your true self is the only journey worth taking. You have the freedom to choose your own way, to interrupt the cycle of superficiality, and to live with intention. The world respects those who respect themselves, and you will only be free when you stop asking for permission to exist. I'll see you in the next dive into the depths of the human soul.